cuss words are prohibited.
Okay.
That's wise, honey.
All right. Just making sure. So, my kids are 8 years apart. So when my daughter was in middle school, my son was in kindergarten. And getting ready for the school in the morning was often very chaotic. The teenager didn't want to get out of bed and was often late, and the kindergartner still needed a lot of help. So by the time we got in the car most mornings, it was stressful. And this particular morning wasn't a whole lot different. As we were going to the car, my daughter noticed that my son was carrying a very large blue binder. This binder happened to be a carefully collected collection of Pokemon cards that had been curated over years. My daughter had decided that she was too old for them, and so she had given them to her brother, and he was taking them to school. As we were getting into the car, she said to me, "He can't take those to school." And I said, "Sure he can." And she said, "Mom, he doesn't understand the value of the cards. He's going to trade away all the good ones." And he piped up from the back seat and said, "No, I won't." And so she turned around and said, "Shut up." And I looked at her and said, "Don't talk to your brother like that." And so she got very angry and said, "Mom, you don't get it. He's going to trade away all the good ones." So as calmly as possible, I explained to her that she had given the cards to him, that they were now his, that if he chose to trade away the good ones, he could do that. She no longer had control over the cards. So the stressful morning, and now the Pokemon card incident, was bursting over. She was frustrated. I wasn't listening. And so I heard those fateful words that every parent of a teenager hears at some point: "Fuck you." And so my response was that of my foot on the brake pedal. The car screeching to a halt a couple blocks away from the middle school, and I turned to her and said, "Get out of the car." "But Mom, get out of the car." So she slammed the door, and I drove away. And I heard this little voice in the back seat that said, "I love you, Mom." I still say that everyone who is a parent of a teenager should have a little one who still loves them. I took him to school, and he decided not to take the Pokemon cards to school. He didn't completely understand what the ruckus was all about, but he understood that his beloved sister didn't want him to take the Pokemon cards to school, so he left them in the car. And I stewed all day about what discipline was appropriate for this verbal violence. And when I got home, it was obvious that my daughter had been waiting all day for the verdict. Her head was down, and she said, "I'm sorry, Mom." And I said, "I know you are, hon. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to write 2 papers. Each of them are going to be 3 pages, typed, double-spaced, normal margins of A quality with specific examples. The first one is going to be titled, 'Why My Mom is Awesome,' and the second one is going to be titled, 'Why I Love My Brother.' And if you don't write those papers, you're going to be grounded from everything that requires electricity for a month." So she wrote the papers. And when I read them, I got tears in my eyes, because she got it. That Pokemon cards are not as valuable as her mother or her brother. And how many of us really understand that lesson? It's easy to listen to this story and realize how ridiculous getting that upset over Pokemon cards is. But really, don't we all do that? We get angry about the marks on a car instead of being grateful that our loved one is safe. We get angry about socks on the floor or toothpaste in the sink. We rail about the cost of electricity or broken glass or spilled milk, forgetting the value of the person right in front of us. We argue for our opinions so that the facts are more important than our friends. Sometimes when I need a reminder, I remember this story. And I ask myself, why do I love this person in front of me? And why is my life awesome? And I remember that the things in my life, my beliefs, my opinions, my desire to be right, are really all just Pokemon cards. Small and insignificant in comparison to the relationship, to the connection, to the love, to the human being right in front of me. And when I remember that, I hear the little one in the back seat who simply loves. And isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what all of us want? And when I remember that, it's easy to leave the Pokemon cards in the car. Thank you.